Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Bitches Be Trippin' here. Today I'm going to be going over the kill grid PvP tactic, which is going to be using snipers that hit out over 200 kilometers to annihilate incoming enemy fleets that could be, trying to reinforce your structures. That could be trying to reinforce your TCUs or take solve from you. So this is going to be an in-depth, detailed, um, step-by-step model of how you're going to engage these certain fleets. They could be massive fleets, they could be small fleets. The bigger they are, obviously, the more dangerous it's going to be for you, seeing as there's going to be multiple stilettos, maledictions, interceptors, whatever you have, scattered across the field to try and catch you. They could potentially bring combat probes, which can be very fatal to this build if you don't have the correct align time. And then even if you do have the correct align time, they could be very annoying and possibly render you useless. Although you still won't be able to get caught. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and explain how it works. So, what happens is you have a ship that hits out to 200 kilometers, and you primarily want to keep the max range away from the enemy fleet the entire time, or as close as you can to max range. Uh, so the way you do that is whenever they get into the minimum allowable range, which is 100 kilometers, you want to warp to your next ping, which is going to be, 200 off you. And the way you do that is you have this ping grid setup that we have over here. So if you look right here, you'll see there's this weird cross-looking shape with, this shape in the middle of it. So picture this as your structure, and this is the way that you want to set up your pings. So you're going to have going from the top to the sides to the bottom, you're going to have pings 200 kilometers off one another. Depending on how much you want to fill up your folder, is how many pings you actually want to put. I'd say 4. If you put 4 above and then 4 on all sides and 4 on the bottom, and you extend those out 200k apart, you're covering a lot of ground. All right. The reason for that is you don't have to warp directly onto these pings. You can warp 200 kilometers, or sorry, you can warp 100 kilometers off the pings, and basically then warp 100 kilometers off of another ping, and still get that 200 kilometer gap that you need between the enemy fleet and you. So the reason that you're going for 200 kilometer gaps is because you want to be 150 kilometers away from the next ping that you're warping to before you have to warp to it. That way, there's no chance that you'll be aligned to the next ping, and then by the time you go to warp to it, you'll be too close. So all the ships that we're going to be using for this are going to be Higgs anchor fit with Higgs anchors. The reason for that is the Higgs anchor slows you down. And with this fit, we're not kiting. Okay, we're sniping. So I'll give you an example of the fit here. Let me drop this. Boom. Let me drag this over. Okay, so as you see here, this is a Cerberus. Cerberus has, let's see, Kildare Navy, Nova Furies. Yeah, sure, why not? So then you hover over it. Oh, I don't have my scripts in. Hold on. So, boom, boom. Here and here and range. Okay, so this is fully kitted out. Oh, is it? Yeah, okay, it is. Yeah, fully kitted out. I've got a lock range of almost 230 kilometers, and I've got a max range of missiles of 231. All right, so that gives me a little bit of play around space where even if the neutrals burn 30 kilometers away, my missiles will still hit them. Because what'll happen is once the neutrals realize that they have 10 Cerberuses shooting at them, they're going to try and burn away. And this just gives you that 30 kilometers buffer so that you can actually still hit the little bastards, before they get out of there. So, um, Yeah, the nice thing about this fit is we'll take a look at application here. So pull this over. Is you guys have 80 meters application for radius. So anything under 80 meters will have full damage applied for this multiplier right here. Now the equation's a little complicated, so you guys will have to watch some other videos on YouTube to actually get the full application on missiles. This is only going to be the sniper tactics guide. I'm not going to go into missile damage and all that shit. This is the primary ship that you want to fly for this. There's this ship. There's the Raven Navy issue. Those are probably the two best ships for this. The Bargus is good too. The damage applies almost right away. It's like 5 seconds delay before the missiles hit at 200 kilometers. But it has less application than the Raven Navy issue, and it's about double the price. So, yeah. So even the explosion velocity here is pretty good too. Now you are going to be shooting at frigates a lot, because the first things you're going to want to wipe off grid are going to be the interceptors. They're going to pose a problem because they're going to be burning straight towards you as soon as you land on your next ping. And if they get within 50 kilometers of you, they pose a very big threat. So you don't want to let them get anywhere close to you. Same with destroyers. So if you see destroyers on grid, aside from the frigates, those are your primary targets. Reason being is that you apply max damage almost to any destroyer class vessel, and destroyers pose the second biggest threat. Actually, some destroyers, the command destroyers, pose more of a threat than the interceptors themselves. Reason being is that they can fly just as fast as the interceptors, and they have this thing called a micro jump drive where they can lock you, and they have a ridiculous lock range. They have a lock range of like 150k or something. So they can lock you, they can micro jump on you, and instantly go from 100 kilometers to 30 kilometers off you and have you locked and warp disrupted, and you're fucked. So yeah, the command destroyers, terrible, terrible. I'd go so far as to say, you see a command destroyer on grid, just don't take out the sniper tactic. All right, just don't do it. I've lost too many snipers. I'll show you this one here. And I'm not a very cheap flyer. I fly some very expensive shit. Here, so that Cerberus I actually lost to a Draugr. Hold on, no, that's not the Cerberus. Just gotta scroll down here. But yeah, I lost the Cerberus to a fleet of 10. I was trying to solo with this fit. Yeah, let's pull this over. And as you can see, didn't go so well for me. And boom, this is the main cause right here, Draugr. Alright, so if you guys see a Draugr on grid, that is probably the scariest command destroyer by far. I think it's the fastest and has really good align time, has insane lock range, has the micro jump drive, yeah. And you're not going to be able to kill it once it lands on you. It's got a very good tank. So, unfortunately, yeah, that was very short. And even lost a Bargus to the same guy here. Let me see. Yes, actually, before this, I didn't even know how big of a threat the command destroyers were. So, let's see here. Yeah, right here, same guy. Draugr lost the Bargus. 2.2 bill. Definitely not a good day for me. And I'll go ahead and simulate that. So as you can see, Bargus, if you throw in the faction ammo, oh, nope, not auto-targeting, don't want auto-targeting, just throw in those. Yeah, so 272 kilometers. It's a very good ship. The max lock range is 300 kilometers. So, yeah, very good. And the align time, actually, hold on. I want to point out the align time here. So this is a very fast align time for a battleship. And with the Nomad set, the mid-grade Nomad set, you can get that under 6 seconds. You get it like 5.5 or something like that. Ridiculously good ship for this. The Raven Navy issue, you can't get it below 6 seconds, I believe, even with the Nomad set. I've never tried it. but it has a base of 10.7 or something like that. So the Nomad set usually drops in another 30 to 40%. So that put you somewhere around 6 or 7. 6 or 7 second line time, even with the Raven Navy issue, which is good. It's just if you see scan probes, you want to get off grid. So let's go back to this here. All right, so I'll just go over the steps here real quick and basically how you want to set up your numbers. So what you want to do is these are basically spanning outward from the structure in a straight line on whichever vexor. So like this one will be bottom vexor, top vexor, and then you've got your north, east, south, and west. And then you just basically put your pings on 200 kilometer marks. So what you want to do is you basically want to ping off one off here to one off here, and then once the fleet catches up to you, you ping to the next one here. Once the fleet gets 100 off you, ping to the next one here, and every time you ping, you relock the target and you start shooting until they get 100 off you again, and then you ping to the next one. Now obviously that extends to 150 if there are command destroyers, and they're going to be flying very fast, so you're only going to get 1 or 2 shots off before you have to ping to the next ping here. You have to warp to the next ping. So that's why I'm saying if you see a command destroyer, it's not really worth taking this doctrine out, because you're going to be moving so much, you're not going to be applying damage unless you got 10 guys. If you got 10 or more guys, you're going to be elfing 1 ship per shot, as long as you all target the exact same guy. So if they're bringing frigates, you hit it with 10 missiles from this fit. Even if it's a stiletto, it's either going to go into deep structure or it's just going to die outright. The destroyers, on the other hand, will just die outright. Their signature radius is too big. They don't get enough of a damage reduction factor from the missile damage reduction factor sheet, which if you look at some other videos online, you'll be able to see what that is. But yeah, basically destroyers will take a shit ton more damage, and they have relatively the same health, I'd say, as a frigate that's moving at very top speed. Its pure EHP is going to be a lot more than a frigate, but its speed to damage reduction factor to signature radius is going to be about the same as a frigate moving at like 6K, right? So let's go here. Yeah, so obviously first step, you want to set up the pings on grid. Second step, pre-trip number ping. So what you want to do is you want to picture, okay, so if I go to this side, if the fleet's over here, and I got to go to this ping, so I'm going to label this one 1, I'm going to label this one 2, 3, 4, etc. And when you get to here, assume that when the fleet is on station and aggressing the station, they're probably going to be between 100 and 200 kilometers off. So this one here, you want to label the number 4 on the one above it, because you don't want to be going from 1 to 3, and then if they still have a stiletto or something here where they started, they're going to catch you if you label this one 4. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then skip 1 ping and go 4. So you're still landing 200 kilometers off. And then from here you want to go 5, 6, 7, and then skip 1, 8, 9, 10, 11, skip 1, 12. That sort of stuff. Now obviously you're gonna appear farther off the fleet as you go up in the chain, which is good. That's what you want. You want to gradually be gaining distance from the fleet, and either they give up and they disband, they go back to shooting the structure, which at that point you can just pick another ping close to them and continue this pinging that you can do. Now, don't reuse original pings that you've already burnt. So what I'm talking about burn is that during the fight, there's going to be stilettos and fast things that are chasing you when you go to a different ping. As soon as you have to warp off of that ping, you want to burn it. So you basically just want to take a mental map of which ping you were at previously and never return to it when fighting that fleet ever again. So basically, if it's goons, anytime you go up against goons, do not go to that ping. Chances are they'll have it bookmarked somewhere, somebody will warp directly on top of you, and you'll be fucked. So yeah. Anyway, that's how the ping numbering system works, and obviously it depends a little bit on where the fleet is on the structure when you go to do it, but you basically just need to number them accordingly to that. So obviously you're gonna number this one, 1112 or something like that, and then this one here is gonna be 1113. This one here is gonna be 1114. And this one here is going to be skipped 1115. So if they're here in this position, you want to go to the 111 pings. And then if they're here, you want to go to the 1121, 112, 2, 1123. Oh, sorry. If they're here, yeah. So if they're here, 1121, 1123. 1124, and then here 11 skip 1 1124 or whatever. I think I messed up somewhere around there, but you get what I'm saying, right? You want to have them coded specifically for whichever route you start off with, so that, yeah, basically you just want to be pinging around and you don't want to be searching. This is the biggest thing, I've got to highlight it. You don't want to be searching for your next ping during the fight. Okay, you want to have your bookmark window open. You want it fully extended from the top to bottom. And you want to have the route that you're going to be taking highlighted from 1 through, however many pings you're going to be taking for the duration of that fight. And this sort of thing right here, where it comes to pinging around to numbered pings, should be done by a navigator, somebody in a either a ship that's not doing anything or a command destroyer, somebody who can boost a fleet. If you really need to, you can boost a fleet off, something like that. A navigator is somebody who is fleet commander, is in charge of the fleet, and can forcibly move people around grid. Okay, the snipers, if you're in a fleet of 10 or more people, this is the way it should be run. Navigator is in charge of making sure there are no scan probes on grid. If there are scan probes, he is in charge of making sure everybody gets off grid in time before the scan probes land, and before somebody warps to the fleet. He is in charge of picking the next ping and telling everybody to align to said ping. And he is in charge of warping the fleet to the ping when something gets within 100 kilometers. That is your navigator. So it's going to be most likely the FC, the fleet commander, is going to be doing that. And then all the snipers basically are just F1 monkeys. You just stick next to the fleet commander. Wherever you land upon warp, you just stay there and start shooting and locking up targets and shooting at the targets called by the FC, or whoever your primary battle FC is going to be. So you're going to have your navigator, just going to be moving the fleet around, and then one of the snipers is probably going to be calling the targets. Because the navigator, the only thing he's worried about is getting you around safely and off grid if you need to be. The primary sniper is going to be calling the targets, and everybody just locks up and engages that target. Yeah, so that's the best way to do it. The thing is in the heat of battle, you're not really going to be worried about, you don't want to be worried about more than just approaching a specific ping and engaging targets. You don't want to be worrying about where you're warping. You don't want to be worried about, zooming out your screen, looking around, trying to get the next ping before somebody gets on top of you, and trying to lock the target and shooting the target as many times as possible while keeping track of what's around you, who's close to you, who can grab you, hitting D-scan all the time so that you can fucking tell if there's combat probes. Now, you need people specifically for those roles. Okay, one person cannot do all this. I learned that the hard way. I was looking for scan probes. I was pinging around. I was doing everything right. I survived till about 5 or 6 pings and got caught because I didn't notice that there was a Draugr on grid that could micro jump drive on top of my ass, lock me up at 130 kilometers, and actually get there before I was able to warp off. So from now on, if you're up against a fleet of 20 or more, get a navigator, please, so that he can take care of the scan probe, the D scans, and all that shit. And you guys just have to worry about locking shit up and killing it. So there we go. So step 3, get in fit that is 200 kilometers. Yeah, so you want over 200 kilometers for obvious reasons. Once you land at the next ping, you don't want to have to worry about the fleet not being in range to aggress. You still want to be in range to aggress them, and you want to have that space so that you can shoot at the interceptors at least 2 or 3 times before you have to warp off again. Then we have step 4, get a line below 6. Oh yeah, so this is important. You want to get your align time below 6 seconds. The reason for that is it takes about 7 to 8 seconds for somebody to pinpoint your location and then get someone on top of you. Either whether it be through an interceptor, it'll actually take about 20 seconds for an interceptor to go from 100k off you to 200k off you to 100k off you. Whereas the scan probes will take about 8 seconds. Take about 5 seconds for them to lock your position, get a warp in ping, and then another 3 seconds from the warp on top of you. So if you have below a 6 second align time, you're relatively safe. You can align out, you can lock a target, and you can shoot once before you warp. And by the time you're ready to warp, somebody will probably be landing on top of you, but it doesn't matter because you're going to be in warp. All right, so let's keep going here. Step 5, if align time or more 6 seconds, D-scan for probes always. Yeah, so you can fight with a Raven Navy issue and a Belgorn even if your align time is more than 6 seconds. The only time you don't want to do that is if there's scan probes. So as soon as you see scan probes and you're in a ship that has less than 6 second align time, you want to get off grid. Don't take the fight. Just leave. It's not worth it. Chances are you're going to get caught. Okay, here we go. Step 6, go to ping, 200 off, enemy fleet, and align to next ping. Oh, yeah. Okay. Off enemy fleet, and align to... Okay, yeah. So, the very first step, once you actually get in the heat of battle, you decide to undock. So this is all setting up before you actually get into the battle. So once you get into the battle, you want to pick a ping that's about 200 kilometers off the enemy fleet, warp to it, lock up the Logi, warp to it and align to the next ping. That's the very first step. So, warp to that, align to the next ping. Make sure the next ping is not directly on top of the enemy fleet. Please. Some people are going to make that mistake and they're going to die. So, yeah, the next ping that you pick has to be the exact opposite direction from the enemy fleet. For obvious reasons. So, step 7, lock and shoot Logi. Yes, Logi, primary targets. You want to kill Logi first. All right. Now, okay, so I'm actually going to change that. So it's Logi primarily first, yes. If they don't have a command destroyer. Okay. If they have a command destroyer, kill the fucking command destroyer. Please, for the love of God. I really hate those things. So if they have a command destroyer, chances are it's going to be beelining it towards you. It's not going to be within range for at least some period of time from its logi before it tries to get on top of you. So go ahead, lock up the command destroyer, and try to chunk that bastard down. Because if you can kill that, yeah, they lose a huge advantage in that fight. And then aside from that, it's Logi. So step 8, warp off if anything gets within 100 kilometers. Yeah, so like I stated before, if anything gets within 100 kilometers of you, you need to relocate your position as it is compromised 100%. And then you need to burn that ping. So, like, obviously not destroy the ping because you can use it later on. Just take a mental note that the ping is compromised, and if you go back to it, chances are they're going to warp on top of you and kill you. So do not reuse the same ping once you warp off it. Okay, anyway, yeah, once they get within 100 kilometers, some ships can, web you, or not web you, some ships can warp disrupt you at 80k, like the Arazu, I believe, has, with abyssals, can hit out to 80k. So there's some ships you want to get off grid even if they don't have a micro jump drive from that distance, and the interceptors can get to you pretty quick from 100k, so you still want to get off grid. Although the interceptors, if you're aligned and there's nothing but an interceptor coming towards you and you don't have to worry about fuck all else, is the only time that I would say that you can stay till they're 50 kilometers off you, but I'd still advise against it. If they're within 100 kilometers, just be safe and get out. Go to the next ping. So, as always, you would be aligned to the next ping during this situation where they are within 100 kilometers of you, and you can now insta warp to the next ping. So now you land at the next ping. So it's 150 kilometers if command destroyer is on grid. To be honest, yeah, 150 kilometers, command destroyer can't really do anything. But it's going to get to you so fast when you land at the next ping. If you stay to the point where it burns its micro jump drive, you're better off, because then it has to wait 3 minutes to burn its micro jump drive to get after you again, and you can continue shooting at the fleet without worrying about the command destroyer. But that's kind of risky, because you're going to be zoomed out most of the time. You're not really going to be looking at enemy ships and telling if they're using their micro jump drive, and you can't really tell from a distance. So I'd say if there's a command destroyer on grid, just count your blessings and get off grid. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Once you warp to the next ping, align to the following ping after that, and just continue doing what all the other steps since you started the fight. Yeah. And then once they get within 100 kilometers, warp to the next ping, and so on and so forth. Alright, so that's sniper tactics for defending structures. This works especially good against TCUs and iHubs. Reason being is that whatever is trying to entosis the TCU and iHub is locked in place for 5 minutes. So you have, the time in which they want to spend trying to entosis that link to actually kill them. Even if the enemy fleet is flying around you, you can stay 200 kilometers off and just keep pinging around in a circle until the poor bastard that's trying to entosis that link is dead. And after which, if they want to bring another entosiser, just go to the pings that are 200 kilometers off that are not burnt and continue doing that. You can also warp to the burnt pings, but warp at 100 off, and you can still use those for quite some time even. You just keep warping 100 off the next one, and so on and so forth. Alright, so I'm starting to lose my voice, so I'll wrap this up. That's pretty much it. So good luck out there, and hope you enjoyed the video.